The moment the doctor's words hit her, Lila felt the floor vanish beneath her feet. It's serious. Her father, the man who had always been her protector, her guide, her anchor in a world that felt uncertain, was gravely ill. At 17, she had never imagined that the responsibility of holding her family together would fall entirely on her shoulders. And yet, there she stood, staring at the cold hospital walls, feeling her heart tighten as fear, disbelief, and determination collided inside her. The next morning, she woke before dawn, the sky still dark, carrying buckets of water heavier than her small arms had ever lifted. The well was miles away, the path slippery from yesterday's rain, and every step threatened to topple her. She whispered to herself, "I have to do this. I can't let him down." But even as she repeated the mantra, a nagging doubt pressed in. Can I really survive this? By the time she reached the fields, the sun had risen fully, blazing like an unforgiving spotlight. She bent over the soil, hauling sacks of grain taller than herself, muscles trembling, sweat stinging her eyes. Villagers passing by shook their heads. "This is too much for a girl," they murmured. Yet each grunt, each strained movement, each drop of sweat was a declaration. She would not stop. Not now, not ever. Then the storm came. It was sudden and violent, tearing at the fragile roof of their home and sending rain cascading through every crack. Her younger siblings screamed as water pooled around them. Without thinking, Lila climbed onto the roof, barefoot and soaked, hammering loose sheets of tin into place. The wind slammed against her like a battering ram, and for a terrifying second, she nearly lost her balance. One slip, one mistake. The thought was a knife in her chest. But she held on, teeth clenched, heart pounding, refusing to give fear any power. By dawn, the house had survived, but her body felt as though it belonged to someone else. She collapsed beside her siblings, shivering and exhausted, and a question whispered in the dark. How long can I keep doing this? Even school was a battlefield. Lila's classmates snickered at her rough hands, her tired eyes, her sunburned arms. Teachers frowned at her inability to submit assignments on time, unaware that she carried burdens heavier than their complaints. Nights were spent under the flickering glow of a candle, memorizing lessons with aching muscles and a mind crowded with worry. Exams came, one after another, each feeling impossible, yet she pressed on, whispering her father's words from memory. Believe in yourself, even when no one else does. Money ran out. Bills piled up. The hospital called again, demanding payment she didn't have. Lila sat beside her father, his hand cold in hers, trying to hold back tears. Desperation clawed at her chest. What if it's not enough? She refused to let herself think the answer. So she rose at dawn and went door to door, asking for odd jobs, carrying water for neighbors, mending fences and cleaning barns. Miles walked, backs bent, hands bleeding. She refused to stop. Every coin earned was a silent victory. Every drop of sweat a promise kept. Her body screamed, her mind wavered. And then came the day the barn collapsed under its own weight, threatening to crush her and the family's small livestock. Without waiting, she pulled up beams, hauling timber alongside men twice her age. Every fiber of her body screamed to quit, but giving up wasn't an option. That night, she lay awake, every muscle aching, whispering to the ceiling, "If I can survive this, I can survive anything." Neighbors who had once doubted her began to whisper in admiration, but not everyone was convinced. "She's just lucky," some said. Others still doubted, calling her tasks impossible for a girl. But Lila didn't care. Every heavy load lifted, every mile walked, every tear shed, every sleepless night was her proof. The limits others set are never your own. There were nights when she felt completely alone. Nights when her father's groans and pain echoed through the small house and her siblings slept too soundly for her own good, leaving her with only the relentless questions: am I strong enough? Can I really do this? Will it ever end? But she forced herself up every morning. She learned to do what seemed impossible: lifting, building, negotiating, managing, all because she refused to accept defeat. Months passed, and small victories began to accumulate. Her father's health improved. The household stabilized. Lila's relentless effort became a quiet legend in the village. And yet, with each passing success came a new challenge, a new weight, a new test of endurance. One evening, as she returned from a day of backbreaking labor, she found a letter from a distant relative threatening to take control of her father's land while he was ill. Her hands shook, her chest tightened, but she swallowed her fear. Not now, not ever. She fought through it, negotiating, pleading, and finally holding her family's home and land intact. That night, as her father smiled weakly at her perseverance, she realized belief in oneself was more than courage. It was survival. Years later, Lila would look back and remember every storm, every sleepless night, every blister, every moment of doubt, every whispered word of discouragement. She would remember carrying water under the blazing sun, climbing storm-tossed roofs, pulling beams heavier than herself, and walking miles for a single coin. But more than anything, she would remember the fire inside her, the relentless, unyielding drive that refused to be extinguished. And as she stood beside her father, older now, stronger now, she knew this truth in her bones. The world may doubt you, obstacles may crush you, and fear may claw at your chest, but the fire within, once ignited, can never die.